unbeatable customer service, and promises to fully protect your interests throughout the entire transaction. Call 402-419-6309 for all your real estate needs. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group of BHHS Ambassador Real Estate.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program by building a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting lincolnteammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
Hey guys, this is former UFC fighter and mixed martial artist Anthony Lionheart Smith. The Upside Bar and Lounge in South Lincoln is the go-to spot for every UFC event, prelims, and main card. There's never a cover, so make sure you get there early and stay late. Upside Bar and Lounge has daily specials, a margarita club, and a taco club. And don't forget, they just added Buzz Bowls to their menu. Learn more about upcoming events by visiting UpsideBarLNK.com and stop into their South Lincoln location for every UFC event on 27th and Pine Lake.
If you don't have Valentine's Day plans this year, strike up some romance at Madson's Bowling and Billiards. Head to Madson's on Saturday, February 14th for the second ever Love on the Lanes, a live stage front dating show like Lincoln's never seen. The show starts at 8 p.m. live on the bowling lanes with audience participation, hilarious Q&As, and unexpected twists. Reserve VIP or standard seating by emailing sarah@madsonslincoln.com or check out their Facebook page. Come for the love, stay for the laughs, and leave with memories or a match on Valentine's Day at Madson's.
93.7 The Ticket Sports News go now.
This is Nick Wyman with your sports update. Nebraska basketball returns home to Pinnacle Bank Arena as the number 7 ranked Cornhuskers battle number 13 Purdue. The Cornhuskers put an end to their short 2-game skid by defeating Rutgers this past Saturday by a score of 80-68. The game between the Boilermakers and the Cornhuskers is set for tip-off this evening at 6 p.m. and can be seen on FS1. Top-ranked Arizona's undefeated start to the season came to an end Monday in an 82-78 loss to number 9 Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse. Jayhawks handed the Wildcats their first loss of the season despite Darren Peterson being inactive for the Jayhawks. With the loss, only one undefeated team remains in Division I college basketball, with that being Miami of Ohio, who have an overall record of 24-0. The Huskers collected wins over Washington, UTSA, and top-ranked Texas over the weekend in San Antonio. Up next, Nebraska will travel to Clearwater, Florida for the Shriners Children's Clearwater Invitational this weekend. Huskers will open the tournament at 9 a.m. Central Time against number 16 LSU on Thursday, February 12th. The game will be televised on ESPN2. And for all the latest sports news and updates, keep it tuned right here at 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Coming at you live from the heart of downtown Lincoln. This is Old School with Foreman and Orman. Old School with Foreman and Orman is sponsored by Graham Tire Company of Lincoln, Nebraska Football Hall of Famer Jay Foreman.
Here's Troy Detmer dropping straight back in the pocket. Rifles a pass. It was tipped and picked off by Foreman. He's at the 15, 10, 5. He'll score! Foreman got it, and it's touchdown Huskers.
Black shirts answer the call one more time.
And Austin Orman. Hour 1 of Old School is sponsored by Heartland of Nebraska Windows. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
That it is. Welcome into Old School here on a beautiful Tuesday in the capital city. Got a fantastic show lined up for you. Austin Orman and Nick Wyman with you. 402-464-5685 if you want to be a part of the show. Brought to you, as always, by the good folks at Graham Tire. They're celebrating 75 years of serving the Midwest. More than just tires, they do all kinds of car and light truck repairs, too. From brakes to oil changes, trust Graham Tire for service you can count on. Graham Tire getting you to the places that matter most. You got Mr. Winter Olympics in the house for Old School. Nick Wyman, how are you?
Hey, I've been bought into the Olympics. You know, I'm a night owl, so usually around...
Really, our midnight guy's a night owl.
Yeah, shocker.
Funny.
It's a pretty good role, I guess, for me. But no, I've been able to watch a little bit USA mixed curling. The Corey squared were able to get silver. Got knocked off by Sweden this afternoon, and then USA was up 4-0 on Canada in preliminary play. So America, the women hockey team in preliminary player still undefeated and been able to kind of handle business throughout so far. So far so good. NHL players playing here in a couple days. That'll be nice. First time since 2014.
Yeah, we got the NHL guys in the Winter Olympics here soon. We have baseball players, MLB players in the World Baseball Classic again I think, 11 guys from our dearly beloved Kansas City Royals.
Around
that many, including some guys signed to minor league deals with camp invites. Definitely going to have to talk about more of that when that gets closer. Not long from that getting going. We will talk some spring training with the teams beginning to report this week. Lots to get to on that front. A pretty notable signing in the American League Central. What's the rationale behind that? But of course, in our next segment, we will talk about our Kansas City Royals. To lead off the show, though, Nick, Nebraska, Purdue is a big deal for a lot of people, and really the stretch run for Nebraska men's basketball. The matchup against Purdue, I think, holds a lot of intrigue. Obviously, it's a top 15 matchup between those two teams. But really, I think what Purdue and Nebraska want to do is really similar. And seeing how Nebraska matches up against a team that plays a similar style to it is going to be interesting. And there's not a lot of teams with the statistical profile that both Nebraska and Purdue have. At the time that we're saying this, they're back-to-back on Bart Torvik. There's one team between them on Ken Pomeroy, and just a couple teams between them at Evan Miyakawa. But both these teams want to play slow. Both these teams take a fair share of threes in their shot diet. Nebraska taking a significant amount more, but we know that Purdue has had some marksmen in the past. Both teams will give up some threes. Neither team gets to the free throw line. Neither team turns the ball over.
Yeah, it's very similar. It's looking in a mirror pretty much at both teams, which in past years, Purdue's come to Lincoln and Nebraska's been able to kind of hand them a loss. They a couple years ago did that here. Nebraska struggled up there in West Lafayette from time to time, but now game at PBA, and it's a weird time for Purdue. Purdue obviously is always in the top 10 for the last couple of years. They've been a very consistent team under Matt Painter. A 3-game skid. You don't really see that out of a Boilermaker men's basketball program. You don't really see too much.
They barely lost 3 games some of the last couple of years.
And then, yeah, exactly. And then they lose to UCLA on a tough shot that goes in right at the end of the game by the Bruins. Illinois, obviously, Keaton Wagler had the game, scoring 46 points at their place. And then you lose to a rival in Indiana. And that one had to have stung because that is your biggest rival in the conference. That is the Nebraska-Iowa for Purdue, Indiana. And then handle business against Maryland, obviously. Maryland's not great this year, and they were able to just get back on the right track, get right game. And then kind of a weird score on Saturday. Oregon, tough matchup a little bit, but they were able to kind of duke that one out and squeeze out a win. And like we say, any win in the Big Ten is a good win, and Purdue is able to get back on the winning skid, kind of like Nebraska. They're both kind of in the same, like you said, mirror images. They're kind of the same in the same sense.
Yeah, I mean, Purdue's losses didn't come to the same caliber of competition necessarily that Nebraska's did, losing, on the road at Michigan, then at home to Illinois for Nebraska. Of course, Purdue got blown out at home by Iowa State earlier in the year, lost on the road at UCLA, lost at home in Mackey Arena to Illinois, and then dropped a tough one on the road rivalry game against Indiana. But just kind of a mediocre, kind of slightly above average Indiana team. They've bounced back with 2 straight wins since then. And the statistical numbers would tell you Purdue and Nebraska are pretty similar. One place where they differ, though, and this is, I think, important to keep in mind as Nebraska really looks at the week that is to come, really through next Tuesday, coming up against Iowa, is Nebraska's going to play some teams that play slower than it does. Nebraska's not exactly moving at breakneck pace, 68.3 possessions per game. Purdue slows it all the way down to 66.4, so almost 2 fewer possessions per game. You look at Northwestern, who will be the opponent on Saturday, 66.9 possessions per game. And then you look at Iowa, all the way down at 65.6 possessions per game, which is only 17th out of 18 teams in the conference because Minnesota plays slower. So that's 3 teams in a row there, Nick, where Nebraska will be facing a challenge of slowing it down. And I know Nebraska wants to do that, execute in the half court. Purdue's defense hasn't been great. Iowa's done a good job of limiting threes, and we've seen Nebraska Northwestern already this year. It's these slower games that I don't know if they concern me for Nebraska, but without that true go-to guy, with Rink Match having one good game now really in the last month against Rutgers, with DeMarcus Lawrence going in stops and starts, Sam Hoiberg going in stops and starts offensively, same with, Sanford and Frager. These half-court games where it comes down to execution, I think they should worry any team. I have my Duke basketball fandom. I always hated watching the Virginia game or hated watching the Syracuse game because when you have so few possessions, execution and finishing off possessions is at a premium. I think there's still a little scar tissue for me when it comes to Nebraska with offensive rebounding. Nebraska going cold. They've had a 3+ minute scoring drought, I think, in each of the last few games. And then when you have this few number of possessions, and again, it's for Nebraska at 68, these other teams at 65 or 66, it doesn't seem like a big deal. Man, these teams want to bleed the clock. They want Nebraska to have to play slowly. And, you trust a guy like a Braden Smith to make a tough shot. You trust a Bennett Sturts to make a tough shot. Nick Martinelli's been one of the best scorers in the Big Ten Conference for a couple of years now. Nebraska does it by committee. Nebraska has guys that can do it, but I don't think there's a guy on Nebraska's roster that you would say hitting that shot is the top of the scouting report for what they do, right? Even Price Stanford, it's the movement. It's the activity. Rink Mast, it's the versatility. Sam Hoiberg, it's the defense. DeMarcus Lawrence, it's the pace. Other guys on other teams, that's the first thing. They will hit tough shots. Nebraska can do it, but Nebraska doesn't make a living doing it, which is, number one, to their credit. That's good team offense. But number two, we've seen at times when Nebraska gets bogged down, doesn't always have that guy that can put it in the bucket at the end of the shot clock.
Nebraska, I'm not worried of this game just because of how they've been able to win games different ways. High scoring games, they've won those. The Oklahoma game, neutral site game against them. The Michigan State game was kind of what they expected. It was kind of a grinded out game where it kind of came down to it did come down to the last possession, and that's kind of was a lower scoring game. I think it was the first one Fred Hoiberg's won, scoring that little of points during his tenure at Nebraska. But like you said, Purdue's got some guys like Braden Smith who's going to make big time shots. That game against Illinois, that is what he does, and he's only been there for 4 years. He's one of those guards where it feels like he's been there for 5 or 6 years, just because he's kind of a thorn in the side for a lot of the Big Ten teams, and that is just what his role is, and he's been able to do it and do it at a high level.
The Purdue matchup, especially with Trey Kaufman right in the short roll, is intriguing. Obviously, Braden Smith, right, handling the ball, Purdue is going to put it in his hands a lot. Nebraska had quite a few answers for Nick Martinelli. They made his life pretty tough the first time that those two teams played. I am really excited, though, for that Iowa matchup, right? Because it's just so different stylistically from what Iowa was under Fran McCaffrey, right? They were one of those teams that was at the top of the conference in pace. They would get their shots up, kind of a skewed defense at times. Then they bring in Ben McCollum, whose teams at Northwest Missouri State and then Drake played among the slowest in the country. And Iowa has certainly taken that to heart so far. Obviously, you get the rivalry game factor. Nebraska not always playing that well in Carver Hawkeye Arena. That game will be coming up in about, the 17th of February. So that's going to be a really interesting one. And I think the way the schedule sets up for Nebraska, Nick, it builds, right? That Nebraska isn't going to be going into these games surprised, right? It's not like Nebraska is coming off of the breakneck game against Michigan, which, to be fair, Nebraska did slow down more than I think other prognosticators would have told you they were going to. But being able to go through, a little bit slower of an Illinois team, especially PBA, a relatively slow, deliberate Rutgers team, into a Purdue team that takes its time, a Northwestern team that isn't, going at breakneck speed, and then Iowa, I think it builds pretty well for Nebraska to get used to playing in those games again, where they had a little bit of a faster run of things. It's slowing back down. And if Nebraska had gone from Michigan to Iowa, man, that style of play would be all over the place, right? You got to get back in transition, you got to hustle back. Iowa, like Nebraska, won't push it. Northwestern won't as much. Purdue, if they have an advantage. But I do kind of like how the schedule sets up for Nebraska the rest of the way.
You totally hit the nail on that one. They have a very similar style of play. The teams left on the calendar for the next 5 at home too. They got at the road stretch, the beef of the schedule there. But you look at the schedule, you only see one ranked team on there. Don't let that fool you. Don't let that fool you. The Iowa games will be, as always, are going to be intense. Then you have Penn State, Maryland, and Northwestern, which you'd think you'd handle business. But like you said, the Big Ten Conference it's college basketball. Like we saw last week, Portland, you see upsets galore happening in college basketball. You have to come to play every night. And then the West Coast trip will be really fun because USC and UCLA are really quality teams. UCLA is playing really good basketball right now. Those are 2 games you can, mark on the calendars. They're going to be later because later start times being, the UCLA one, I should say. The other one's I believe a 2:00 tip, but West Coast time, it's a little different. But and then Iowa to close out the regular season, final game, senior day. And then new season starts. The Big Ten tournament should be a fun one. You can look at the bracket right now. Nebraska is control of the 3 seed with the new tournament format, adding in everybody in the conference, and adds a whole new realm into possibilities of how that can shake out.
The KenPom numbers, as it stands right now, give Nebraska a positive win probability right now in 7 of the 8 remaining games. The only loss projected 1 point at Iowa as it sits right now. Nebraska, though, Nick, to your point, projected in a lot of close games. The only games outside of single digits, Nebraska's projected to beat Northwestern by 14 in Lincoln, and then they're given back-to-back 20-point wins as it stands right now over Penn State and Maryland with 97% win probabilities in those 2 games. Other than that, you have a 3-point projection against Purdue, a 1-point loss projection against Iowa, a 5-point win projection against USC. You're +2 right now at UCLA, and a 5-point win projection at home against Iowa. And that's where I think if you start looking at that big picture for Nebraska men's basketball, it's good that it feels like they kind of lighten up a little bit coming off of the stretch that Nebraska had, right, with going to a pesky Northwestern team, a tough Washington team at home, road win over Minnesota looms large because Minnesota's picked off 3 ranked teams in the barn. Nebraska found a way to survive it. Then your back-to-back games against top 10 competition. Nebraska doesn't have many scrubs left on the schedule. Northwestern 67th in KenPom, Penn State and Maryland outside the top third of the country as it stands right now. But, Maryland will pose some challenges with its style of play, and everyone else is within the KenPom, top 70. So, yeah, it lightens up, like you said, with only 1 ranked team on the schedule. Iowa's on the periphery, top 20, according to a lot of the metrics. So it's easier, but it's still challenging. Not to where Nebraska can let its guard down and relax at the end of the regular season and then have to lock back in come tournament time.
They're still duking it out for the seeding for the tournament, too. So these games mean a lot. Every game means something.
Yeah.
And these games, like with, right now, Nebraska sitting at the 3 spot. If the Big Ten tournament starts at UCLA, would be that quarterfinal matchup. That is a team where UCLA has been able to prove that, hey, they can hang with the big dogs. They're number 6 spot. There's a team that Iowa's lurking in there too. There are a couple teams lurking in that spot. And once you get to neutral site, you never know what's going to happen. You've seen teams in conference tournaments be a 1 seed and get picked off. And then a team like NC State a couple of years ago. NC State got red hot.
Thanks for bringing that one up. Thanks, man.
NC State was on nobody's radar. Become one of the tournament top stories.
You couldn't have done the UCLA team that went to the Final Four.
NC State, everybody liked that. A feel good team. DJ Burns, everybody liked it. And
everybody liked it.
I mean,
everybody. Who is everybody?
99.9% of people, minus you. And then but that was the most recent one, I would say, that most people got behind. Not everybody, most people. I will correct myself there, not to add you out of that one.
I don't take it too personal, but come on, man. North Carolina State, but so many great Final Four runs, and I know they come to mind. You couldn't have done FAU. Couldn't have done San Diego State finally breaking through.
Those teams, FAU was kind of projected to make the tournament that year, they won they got their conference and everything. But that NC State at that time was nobody's radar. They weren't even close. And then they just got hot in the tournament, and that's how it went. And Nebraska's had a couple runs like that in the tournament where they've gotten past a couple teams. Johnny Trueblood, those years, he was the heart and soul at the time and got Nebraska past Wisconsin and everything. And then they didn't win the tournament, but there's teams like that, or you got to look out for, because they're playing with everything on the line. Their seasons on the line, some careers on the line, and whatnot. So you got to come to play every game, especially in the Big Ten Conference, and with the tournament also expanding, adding the entire conference now into the tournament.
I'm going to pull up that run that you mentioned because I distinctly remember watching that one. I don't want to speak out of turn, but that was Miles' last team, would have been in 18-19. The one that made that run. Of course, that was a team that started the year off really hot. Right after the snub from the NCAA tournament, Nebraska gets off to an 11-2 start to the year, lose on the road at Maryland in heartbreaking fashion, on the road at Iowa, bounce back with a couple wins, and then things kind of went off the rails there after the new year. They go on the road, they beat Indiana for that second win of that stretch, lose a tight one at home to Michigan State, lose on the road at Rutgers, Ohio State at home, Wisconsin at home, at Illinois, lose to Maryland, and then lose on the road at Purdue by 19 points there to go from what was a team that was 13-4 to a team that was 13-11, had another 4-game losing streak at the end of the year as well. But 3 of those 4 came to ranked opponents. So Nebraska enters the Big Ten tournament just 16-15 after a dramatic senior day win over Iowa. That would have been the Thor Bjarnason, Amir Harris, I think it was, flipped in the game winner.
Yep.
Tanner Borkart was on that team as well. That Iowa team was Bohannon, Wieskamp, Moss, Garza, and Cook.
Wow.
In the starting lineup. Connor McCaffrey coming off the bench. The starters for Nebraska, Glenn Watson led the way. James Palmer Jr., Isaiah Roby as well. Those three guys combined for quick math, 73, I believe it would be. Yeah, 73 of Nebraska's 93 points. But it was, of course, Amir Harris and Thor Bjarnason. Got a thunder. You remember the call from KP.
Yep.
Nebraska wins its first round game against Rutgers by 7. They knock off number 21 Maryland in that one, 69-61. And then, Nick, I remember this game against Wisconsin. It just felt like Nebraska ran out of gas. They had it in the first half. They were only down by 5. They make their run in the second half. But I remember it, just like with most Tim Miles teams, there came that wall, that offensive dead zone. They hit it. And, of course, you're playing with just 6 guys at that point in the tournament. You had 3 starters play 40 minutes, and Watson, Palmer, and Roby. Thor Bjarnason played 30, Borkart 22, and Johnny Trueblood had to play 28 minutes.
And that's playing and that's playing 2 games the prior 2 days.
Yeah, third game in 3 days.
That's very core memory unlocked right now, because that was not very long ago. And it's like, look at that. And those are the teams you got to look out for in the tournaments, because, Wisconsin at the time, I mean, who's on this Wisconsin team back then?
That Wisconsin team. I'm glad you asked.
Because I'm just curious. I'm trying to think of some names. Like, was Ethan Happ around?
Okay, that was the Ethan Happ team. Nebraska held him to 4 points on 4 shots. Also had 7 assists or 7 rebounds and 4 assists with 7 turnovers in that one.
Jeez, the other defense, man.
The bench for that team: Aleem Ford, Brevin Pritzel, and Kobe King. One-time Nebraska men's basketball transfer. Kobe King.
Yep.
Can you name the other 4 starters on that Wisconsin?
No shot.
You can name one of them.
Is Chucky Hepper? Was Chucky?
Nope,
Chucky was still at Bell West at the time.
The starting point guard for them went 2 of 10 on the day for 11 points. Brad Davison.
I was gonna say him. Ben Brust has like a core. He's another guy.
Nope,
but he was way before.
Earlier.
I remember he had a game winner against Michigan famously.
Yep.
Brad Davidson was also another one of those kind of point guards. Remember, Braden Smith, I mentioned, kind of a thorn in your side, annoying. He's going to make shots. That game struggled, obviously.
The other Wisconsin starters: Nate Reavers, Demetric Trice, and Khalil Iverson.
I remember him. Yeah.
Reavers and Iverson both went for 14 points, made 6 shots from the floor.
Wow, that is a time. But like you said, like Big Ten tournament, you have to come to play, especially in any of them, like the ACC one we mentioned. There are. Even if you're the top seed, you can look like, okay, we are going to be in the quarterfinals, and then you have just 2 more. You're 2 more games away. A spoiler team could totally wreck that for you, and then you're sitting at home for the next 2 days, and then you're just waiting for Selection Sunday. So, not trying to get ahead of ourselves. There's still a month. There's still 4 or 5 weeks of the regular season left, but control what you can control, I think, is the biggest thing for Nebraska basketball so far going forward.
Ben on our Starter Heyman Jewelers text line says Nebraska found that scoring dead zone this year versus Michigan and Illinois in the 2 losses. Hopefully that stays away down the stretch. You would also point out that Nebraska went into a bit of a rut against Washington late in that one. I would also say, they went, I think, the last 4 minutes and change without a field goal against Rutgers. And again, it was the end of the game, not a huge deal, but, if you can push it to 85 or 86 points instead of, sitting there at 80, it's nice to end the game on a positive note. But Nick, that's the thing that Nebraska, maybe fans have to get a little more comfortable with it. Fred Hoiberg promised the offense, right? We still saw some of those scoring droughts with his early teams, and then they're popping up with this team. Scoring gets tougher when you enter the Big Ten. I got to get the Ken Pom numbers pulled back up to find Nebraska's rank in the conference. But I think part of the deal for Nebraska is the number 3 or number 5 offense in the Big Ten and the number 3 defense right now, just in only conference games. That's really good. That makes sense that Nebraska is where it's at in the standings with that. Is you don't like the field goal drought, but that's where I think 2 things need to be kept in mind. Number 1, Nebraska can get hot in a hurry. So you can survive it if you can make up for it. Or maybe you make up for it and then, you have your run and then you go cold. That's, what's happened in Nebraska for the most part this year. But the fact that they can score in bunches is a feather in their cap. Now, the other thing to keep in mind then with the scoring drought, you got to get the free throw line. Something Nebraska hasn't done a whole lot this year. In fact, they're last in the Big Ten in free throw rate when it comes to conference-only games, and they're 357th out of 365 teams all season long. So that would be an easy way, at least in theory, for Nebraska to quell some of those scoring droughts. Even if you have a field goal drought, DeMarcus Lawrence, get to the line. Sam Hoiberg, get to the line. Go to rink mass in the post, something, and try to draw a foul. Because, Nebraska won't be able to survive, 3-minute scoring droughts or 4-minute scoring droughts when the calendar turns to March and it's one and done. It's just not a way to win games consistently.
And especially against Purdue. Purdue is going to be a team that's not going to go on a drought like that. They're going to be able to play consistently throughout those 40 minutes of play. The rest of the way, you look at a team, UCLA, USC, they've hung with some good teams. Penn State's hung with some of the elite teams of the Big Ten this year.
Should have beat Michigan.
Exactly. Coulda, woulda, shoulda, but they've ended up on the long end of a tight game, and they hung with Michigan at the time. Michigan was looking like they were untouchable at the time.
Yeah.
But they were Penn State, and they were gritty and were able to make it close. So, like you said, I think if you can counteract, cross out, have those 4 minutes, win the 4 minutes, those 4 minutes where you go on a drought, but then the next 8 minutes you are going nuclear from the floor. Somehow to cancel that out, because if against the elite teams, against the teams who have solid defenses, are able to put the ball in the hoop consistently on the other end, going on those droughts will hurt you come, postseason play.
Sure will. It's around the corner. Still a ways away,
but
you peer your head around, and hey, guess what? You can see it just down the road. He's Nick Wyman. I'm Austin Norman, also just down the road. How about some baseball, folks?
Yep, feeling like some baseball weather.
Teams are reporting. Pitchers and catchers are getting there. Let's talk about the Kansas City Royals and players we're interested in watching. We'll do that next on Old School.
You're listening to Old School with Jay Foreman and Austin Orman. Download the mobile app and listen wherever you are on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Anderson Ford in Lincoln has 2 convenient locations, which means 2 times the customer service, 2 times the inventory, and 2 times the ability to get you in the car of your dreams. Whether you visit us on the north side or the south side, you'll find more selection and a team that's always on your side. When you're looking for a better way to buy your next Ford, visit Anderson Ford in Lincoln, where exceptional service meets unbeatable selection.
Hey, Nebraska, this is your moment. Love Nebraska is already making noise on the court, but they're still missing one thing, a nickname. That's where you come in. Love Nebraska is giving fans the chance to submit the team's official nickname. Fans will then vote on the finalists later this season. Head to lovneb.com/nameyourteam to submit your nickname and get in the game. Submissions end on February 22nd. Name your team, shape the legacy.
When it comes to concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction doesn't stall. They go for the takedown. As Nebraska's full-service concrete contractor, they stay in bounds, hold inside position, and never forfeit quality. Whether it's foundations, flatwork, or concrete coatings, they elevate performance and pin down results that win every time. Stevens & Smith Construction is a proud sponsor of Takedown Tuesdays on 93.7 The Ticket. Because when it's time to wrestle with concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction slams expectations.
Gentlemen, Valentine's Day is just around the corner. Don't be that guy running to the store for flowers and a card on your way home. Let Sartor Heyman Jewelers help you be a hero this Valentine's Day. We have great gifts in store now, and if you spend $129, we'll throw in a free bouquet of roses. Give her what she really wants this year and let us do the rest. Sartor Heyman Jewelers, your hometown jeweler since 1905. In Lincoln and Grand Island and online at sartorheyman.com.
Dinner and a movie? You've done that. Arbor Axe House has a date night deal that really hits. This Valentine's Day, enjoy a special rate that includes an hour of axe throwing for 2, plus drinks and koozies. Reserve your lane today at arbораxe.com. Arbor Axe House, on the corner of N Street and Antelope Valley.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs, from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
Most resolutions for the new year fail before January is even over. Why not resolve to just be a little bit cleaner in 2026? Nebraska Auto Detail is here for you. Now through March 30th, if you purchase a ceramic coating, you'll get a free interior detail. There's no better way to start your year than taking care of your car and decluttering the mess that it becomes so easily. Book your detail today at NebraskaAutoDetail.com or call Joe and the team at 402-601-5086.
MWR, a local company of Lincoln, is proud to announce they are able to offer their own post-frame building packages in metal to anyone desiring a building, whether you're a contractor or a DIYer. They can install your building as always, and they offer multiple different rib profiles and loads of color options, including the wood grain metal at great competitive prices. You can inquire at mwrbuildingandfence.com or just draw your desired building and submit it in their contact us page, and they'll get back to you. Call MWR today at 402-540-8966.
Just got new tires put on my car today.
You did? I didn't see you leave the office.
I didn't need to. Graham Tire picked up my car this morning and dropped it back off and they were done.
You're kidding. How'd you get that kind of service?
That's just what they do at Graham Tire.
Schedule your service online on the Pickup and Delivery tab at GrahamTireLincoln.com. That's GrahamTireLincoln.com. Let us do the running. Some limitations apply. See store for details.
Big value and big flavor meet at Wings and Rings thanks to the all-new delicious Duo Combo. This is the one you've been waiting for. Get one half-sized appetizer and 2 entrees with a side for only $19.99. Bring a friend for the best deal in town on any day of the week, during game time, or whenever the heck you want. Their made-to-order wings and chicken sandwiches are waiting for you at their 68th and O and 40th and Old Cheney locations. Stop by Wings and Rings and celebrate every day with the best meal deal in town.
Back to Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
That's right. Welcome back in. It is Old School. Austin Norman, Nick Wyman with you here today. 402-464-5685. Which Royals are you most intrigued by in spring training and beyond? Big thanks as well to the folks at Heartland of Nebraska Windows for sponsoring hour one of the show. They're based out of Hallam, Nebraska. They offer free estimates, full window replacements, all vinyl triple pane windows, and a lifetime warranty on everything while keeping their prices affordable. Heartland of Nebraska Windows is locally and family owned with their own team of installers. You can give them a call today for more info at 402-430-3852. You can also visit them online at heartlandofnebraskawindows.com. Nick, I know you have a bullet point list pulled up. I don't know exactly how you went about thinking through this and the Royals that you want to see. Let's go ahead and start on the mound. Do you have any guys in the pitching staff for the Royals that hold your intrigue here in spring training?
I have 2 guys.
Okay.
They're Cole Reagans, Chris Bubich. Will they stay healthy? Because you look at those 2 guys, what they've kind of accomplished during their tenure with the club.
Mm-hmm.
They need to stay healthy because last year Reagans obviously goes down. Bubich has had his injuries, in the past.
Yeah.
We saw him have Tommy John, and then it's like, what's going to happen? Kind of gets a little bit of bullpen role in that postseason team, and was pretty good at it.
Right.
But now he goes back into pitching, being a starter. Those are the 2 guys, because of those 2 guys, I don't know what the Royals do with innings without him, but I do trust the bullpen. I really like the bullpen.
Okay.
You need consistent starters, and those 2 guys are healthy and being able to log a lot of innings, a lot of games. I have no worries with the pitching. We'll get into everything else, but those are the 2 guys I kind of circled real quick before we went on the air here. Just Cole Reagans and Chris Bubich staying healthy.
More important for Chris Bubich to stay healthy as a pitcher or as a trade chip?
They could go both ways. It depends how the season shakes out. There's been rumors about him getting traded and everything and whatnot, and he is still, pretty young arm. He's pitched in big games, big moments, especially in that postseason run a couple of years ago for the Royals. It's interesting. It depends where they're at in the trade deadline in July, where it's months away. It's the first day of, reporting the spring training, but the trade deadline is going to be in July or late July, and it depends where the Royals are at and what they need and how kind of some other guys will get into how they perform and what the Royals team needs at that moment will play a big factor in that.
Yeah, on the mound for me, at least in terms of the starters, I would say certainly with health, Seth Lugo. Is he the true number 2 in that rotation again, or does he settle in to kind of that 3 or 4 range, because I think pretty clearly it's Cole Reagan's at the top of that rotation, right? Bubic pitched like a 1 when he was healthy last year. Big breakout for him. Noah Cameron, supposed to be kind of a swing guy, quad A depth piece, pitched like a number 3 for most of last year, and at times even like a 2. But if Seth Lugo's a 3, Michael Wacha's a 3, Chris Bubic comes back a little bit to earth, and Noah Cameron slides back, there's no second guy in the rotation that you really need in a postseason series. Enough quality arms to get you through a regular season. But that's where I'm looking at, is Bubic still on the roster? If he's healthy for the first 2-3 weeks of spring training, is he out the door for another bat? Probably in the outfield or even potentially at second base. I would also say that that's where you look at a Ryan Berger. How healthy is he? He really flashed some upside as a guy I think can really step into that number 2 starter role. Stephen Kolek had his moments last year. I'm not sure about the ceiling there. Maybe it's him. But I think the big takeaway in the starting rotation, Nick, is we feel so much better about the state of the rotation now than we did even like 2 seasons ago or 3 seasons ago.
Agreed. And they made some trades there last year, got some guys. Obviously, playoffs were not on the minds really at that moment. The Royals were kind of just in that 8 or 9 games back. You'd have to put on a little bit of a win streak and need some help to get in. But yeah, I feel the same way. Like pitching, even you go back a couple of years ago, pitching was kind of a nightmare. There, you never knew what the heck to get out of the bullpen. From about 2018 to 2020, you didn't really know what to do. Scott Barlow was there. But outside of that, it was like cross your fingers and hope something. Maybe a ground ball hits a fielder, or a pop fly goes right to an athlete. You didn't really know what to expect.
Shout out Scott Barlow.
Yeah,
should have been traded earlier. So should Whit Merrifield. Have you heard? Were you around when I was talking to Sainert about the Whit Merrifield stuff back in the day?
No, but that was his end of his Royals tenure was very interesting.
So, rumor has it the Royals and Cubs were close to a deal for Whit Merrifield.
Yes,
that likely would have brought back Nico Horner.
That would have been wild.
Man,
that would have been a wild.
Dayton Moore not willing to trade, held on to Scott Barlow far too long. But so be it. Unmasked Tector says, Royals, LOL, they suck. Hey, that text sucks. It's baseball season. It's spring training. Teams are reporting.
This weather.
Give us a break, man.
This weather. Nebraska baseball practiced outside yesterday. It's very. I feel like it's very rare. Usually they'll get an outdoor practice a couple weeks into the season, but before the season begins, before you head to Scottsdale, you have multiple practices outside. That and Haymarket Park. I saw pictures. It looked good. It looked really good for a early February date. Usually there's like a foot of snow in the ground or whatever.
Right. I do want to talk about the bullpen here real quick too, though, Nick. Carlos Estevez, peripheral numbers, a little shaky. Had all the saves, all-star caliber year for him last year. Curious to see if he can keep up those results. Lucas Urseg, is he back? Maybe hampered by an injury at times last year. Matt Strom, again, some of the underlying numbers leave you saying, okay, he'll still be good, but just how good can he be? You still have John Schreiber. You add Nick Mears there in the middle. Luinder Avila, what is he, if anything, is a flame-throwing arm? Is Daniel Lynch, good enough as your lefty specialist with Angel Zerpa out the door? And I see Jake Sorensen sprinting up here. The mention of Angel Zerpa, who he fired into the sun a long time ago. Bailey Falter is still on the roster. Here's the interesting name, though. Alec Marsh. That's a guy that was really good 2 years ago. And then last year had a weird injury or series of injuries to start the year. Never pitched. That was a flame-throwing arm that they had some moments as a starter, could certainly scale up in relief. I think that's another option down the line for the Royals to monitor the health of, because I think there's a role for a guy that throws as hard as he does with 4 potential pitches.
Exactly. There's a lot of depth there. A lot of names you name there. Matt Strom's back.
Returner, baby.
Back. If you didn't know, he's back after he was traded. Royals acquired him in a trade years ago, leaves free agency, kind of plays on some playoff teams. And now he's back. That's another guy you can add. Carlos Estevez, I think, was an awesome get because you really didn't know. It seemed like Lucas Urseg was made a closer a couple of years ago. You would have thought that after how the playoffs went. That role gets taken. Carlos Estevez steps in, and he was an all-star.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think the pitching is the least of the concerns right now, which has kind of been kind of the opposite of what the last couple of years.
So let's talk about the offense. Let's start on the dirt. Catcher, and then around the infield. Any players stand out to you on the dirt?
I got a couple here. So like Carter Jensen, what is he? Is he big league ready? Because he's gonna obviously
was at the end of last year.
Exactly, but that's just a very small sample size. We're talking, August, September, or whatever, not a full-fledged season. So he's gonna be the big question mark. Because if he's big league ready, adds another layer because he could just do all that. Along with that, I think Jack Caglione, will he be able to elevate?
Ooh, but is he on the dirt?
No, he's not. I'm just mentioning guys off we're going off the bullet point list that I kind of mentioned.
All right.
Jonathan India, if we want to go off the dirt, Jonathan India, bringing they get him from a trade, Brady Singer trade, and it wasn't all that we really expected from what he had with Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
He just needs to kind of improve after year one and kind of settle in and be able to get that. He got a haircut. I saw that.
Yeah.
Very, very. They showed up at the Royals fan fest or whatever, and he had a haircut, and I was like, is that Jonathan India? Like, I didn't really recognize him, but yeah, him bouncing back. Michael Massey, where does he fit into the equation here at this team? Because there's so many different spots you can put guys. We'll find out a lot here in the next month at spring training with the spring training games. Those are some of those guys in the dirt, I would say. But like outside of that, Jack Caglione, where does he fit in with the outfield situation? Those are my quick hits with the Royals fielding and outfield.
Dirty Tony and the boys does chime in on the Angel Zerpa front. Really wish he could have figured it out. Had the filthiest pitches, but could never find the strike zone. Funny enough, his strikeout to walk ratio was really good a couple years ago, and he was a pretty high leverage guy for the Royals. Did drop down a little bit, was about 2.5 to 1 each of the last couple of years. 58 strikeouts and 49 strikeouts the last couple of years, with 22 and 19 walks allowed in each of those years. The problem I think with Zerpa was he either had it or he didn't, right? It was the inconsistency. Sometimes he was blowing 97 past guys at the knees with a filthy slider. Other times it was 95 down the heart of the plate, and those 2 miles an hour in the location obviously make it easier for big league hitters to catch up to. Only allowed, about a home run every 9 innings that he pitched with the Royals, about a hit an inning as well. So he was never terrible. He was always right around league average, but it was boom or bust, right? He was kind of the Brady Singer of relievers, right? Whereas Michael Wacha is like the traditional number 3. Like, what you're going to get every time out. You're going to get between 5 and 7 innings. You're going to get between, 1 and 4 runs allowed. You're going to strike out, 4 to 6 batters. That's a kind of a traditional guy there, right? Middle reliever, you just think, okay, yeah, he'll be fine. But Zerpa sometimes looked like a closer. Other times looked like he should have been in single A. Kind of like Brady Singer, right? You put that guy at Target Field, he's not getting anyone out. You put that guy in Kauffman Stadium, there are days that he looks like he should win a Cy Young.
I think a lot of people think of Angel Zerpa. You think of the playoff game against the Yankees where he was just walking everybody. I think that's the one that kind of is fresh in not only my mind, your mind, and every other Royals fan's mind. That's the one.
Flashback to Baltimore though, when they brought him in with the bases loaded and he worked him out of it. That's exactly what I'm saying.
It's a coin flip basically to get there. You don't know which Angel Zerpa you're going to get. Are you willing to risk that? That's the real question.
And the Brewers are turning him into a starter.
That's interesting how that
Milwaukee.
Sometimes that worked out for some guys. Sometimes
like Seth Lugo.
Sometimes it doesn't. It's another coin flip. You don't know. You don't know until you try it, and sometimes it pans out, like you said, Seth Lugo. Sometimes it kind of comes back to bite you, and then you have to kind of pivot.
Royals certainly pivoting at second base, right? They went into last year trying to platoon India and Massey, give them both a chance in left field as well. Second base is really the one position on the infield the Royals don't have things figured out. Curious to see if there's more of a leap in Vinny Pasquantino with the fences being brought in. Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be Bobby Witt Jr. Maikel Garcia, I think his breakout is legit. Maybe he just had the best year of his career, but I think you're relatively confident in what you're getting from him. Is Massey on the dirt or is he in the outfield? Is India over whatever mental blocks that he had going to a bigger ballpark, right? From the hitter's paradise that was Great American Ballpark in Cincy to the K, he admitted kind of messed with him. And then, is there room on the roster for a guy like an Abraham Toro as a veteran, or a Kevin Newman who's a veteran? Probably not, because I think that infield is just so good, which is where we turn our attention then to the outfield.
Yep.
You think Kyle Isbell is going to get the start in center for the Royals. Is he still good as he approaches 30, right? Legs fall off pretty quick for center fielders. And Kyle Isbell was really good last year because the Royals were able to platoon him, which is where a guy like Lane Thomas comes in. What does the bounce back look like for him? And then the corners, the guy that I'm probably most intrigued by in terms of the new additions is Isaac Collins. 4th in the Rookie of the Year, switch hitting, kind of Andrew Benintendi-esque, enough pop, but not necessarily known for it. Is going to work the count, get on base, draw his walks. That's where I think, Nick, if India goes back to being the 360 on base guy, or Isaac Collins can draw a walk and provide a tough at bat at the top of the lineup ahead of Bobby Witt Jr., the Royals at least have a couple options to put in front of their franchise superstar. Either one of those two guys locking down the leadoff spot for 120 games this year goes a long way for this Royals.
So
offense.
Isaac Collins was the last guy on my list
There we go.
because you get him, obviously at his time with the Brewers, he had a pretty solid season, 4th in Rookie of the Year voting.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, let's see what we got, and is he going to lead off? That's the big question. Switch hitter, that helps a lot. And put him, if he can get on base, and Bobby Witt Jr.'s up next, and the rest of them keep the line moving was the cliche in 2015.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If they can kind of capture a little bit of that, you have a guy who can get on base and leadoff spot, they'll take it. They'll take it every single time. And if you can play him, like you said, 120 plus games, he's can be out there and field the ball. Kyle Isbell, another one, like he plays exceptional defense, but like you said, he's getting up there. You never really know how it's going to go. Jack Cagliano's the last guy I think we touch on just because Fence is moving in. Can he elevate the ball? Because there's so much hype around this guy. He was in Omaha for a quick cup of coffee, literally. I mean, it felt like a blink and you missed him.
Almost played as many games in Utah as he did in Omaha.
You have to blink. He moved up the system so quickly. He did play several years at Florida. Nebraska fans remember him at Florida from a regional, obviously. And he just moved up so quickly. I just would hope that it's not a situation where, we rush this guy so quickly that, it comes back to bite them in development wise. So he's those are the two wild cards in the outfield because you just got to hope that things fall into place and things just kind of start to click.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest X factor for the Royals, I would say, alongside Carter Jensen offensively, right? Because, if Carter Jensen's good enough to give Salvador Perez days off, Salvi's just always been so good after a little bit of time to rest that Carter Jensen being good goes a long way. Jack Cagliano, though, swung the bat 77.4 miles per hour on average last year, which was like 98th percentile in baseball or 90th plus percentile if he had enough at bats to qualify. Had a pretty good barrel percentage, kind of middle of the road average exit velo. His expected numbers better than his actual numbers. He ends the year hitting just 157 with a 237 on base and a 295 slug. Thing is that Jack Cagliano didn't really swing and miss that much, especially for a guy like him at 6'5", 250. You'd expect there to be a lot of swing and miss. But here's the thing, Nick. I might take a little bit more swing and miss from Jack Cagliano as opposed to what you said, the poor contact from him when he's topping the ball or he's, swinging maybe too much, right? At pitches that he can get the bat to, but how much damage is he able to do on them, right? His walk percentage maybe a little low, but not atrocious for a rookie. His strikeout percentage, 22.4% for a guy with his power, right in line. You can live with that. It creeps up to 27, 28%. You don't love it. But if he's 25% or below, that's going to go a long way because Jack Cagliano locking down right field ties a lot together. Isaac Collins being able to play left consistently ties a lot together with maybe a spot start for Michael Massey out there here and there. The outfield for the Royals has been among the worst in baseball offensively for going on a decade now, really since the World Series run the last 5 years. It's been especially atrocious, but man, you credit the Royals for at least trying to bring in some new options in those positions.
And you have a guy like Lane Thomas, a veteran guy. Maybe he captures something. He's played a couple of years on a couple of big game teams. We sit here February 10th. I think it's crazy. You look at the schedule. First spring training game is in 10 days.
Yeah.
10 days.
And
surprise, Arizona playing the Texas Rangers. You look at that first day report, and you have less than 2 weeks to gear up for an exhibition game where you see, a handful of starters, handful of young prospects get some action who get invites to spring training. It's exciting, and it's almost that time of year. Baseball's almost back.
Royals invite 67 players. They can only keep 40 on the 40-man. We'll certainly keep you posted as we are, again, Lincoln's home for the Kansas City Royals. More baseball news wrapping up this hour of the show after this.
Watch Old School live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Just got the brakes fixed on my car today.
You did? You haven't even left the office.
I didn't need to. I got a guy who picks up my car and drops it off when it's done.
Well, who's your guy?
Graham Tire. They have pickup and delivery service at all 5 of their Lincoln locations.
Schedule your service online on the Pickup and Delivery tab at GrahamTireLincoln.com. That's GrahamTireLincoln.com. Let us do the running. Some limitations apply. See store for details.
When it comes to concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction doesn't stall. They go for the takedown. As Nebraska's full-service concrete contractor, they stay in bounds, hold inside position, and never forfeit quality. Whether it's foundations, flatwork, or concrete coatings, they elevate performance and pin down results that win every time. Stevens & Smith Construction is a proud sponsor of Takedown Tuesdays on 93.7 The Ticket. Because when it's time to wrestle with concrete, Stevens & Smith Construction slams expectations.
Anderson Ford in Lincoln has 2 convenient locations, which means 2 times the customer service, 2 times the inventory, and 2 times the ability to get you in the car of your dreams. Whether you visit us on the north side or the south side, you'll find more selection and a team that's always on your side. When you're looking for a better way to buy your next Ford, visit Anderson Ford in Lincoln, where exceptional service meets unbeatable selection.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program by building a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
93.7 The Ticket. Fox KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see mostly sunny skies, and it will be breezy in the afternoon, high around 51. Tonight, mainly clear skies and calm winds, a low around 27. And tomorrow, we'll see mostly sunny skies return with light winds and an afternoon high near 52. I'm meteorologist Kyle Butler for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
If you're seeking a career with a growing company, Gaina Trucking and Excavating is hiring and looking for additions to their team. Gaina Trucking has a strong team culture, competitive pay, 401ks, and benefits like health, dental, and vision. Drivers are guaranteed 40 hours per week, even in the winter months, and are home every night. Start your career today at Gaina Trucking and Excavating. Apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
MWR, a local company of Lincoln, is proud to announce they are able to offer their own post-frame building packages in metal to anyone desiring a building, whether you're a contractor or a DIYer. They can install your building as always, and they offer multiple different rib profiles and loads of color options, including the wood grain metal at great competitive prices. You can inquire at mwrbuildingandfence.com or just draw your desired building and submit it in their contact us page, and they'll get back to you. Call MWR today at 402-540-8966.
Gentlemen, Valentine's Day is just around the corner. Don't be that guy running to the store for flowers and a card on your way home. Let Sartor Heyman Jewelers help you be a hero this Valentine's Day. We have great gifts in store now, and if you spend $129, we'll throw in a free bouquet of roses. Give her what she really wants this year and let us do the rest. Sartor Heyman Jewelers, your hometown jeweler since 1905. In Lincoln and Grand Island and online at sartorheyman.com.
Back to Old School with Foreman and Orman on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
One final segment here for the first hour of Old School. Austin Orman and Nick Wyman with you. Big thanks to Heartland of Nebraska Windows for sponsoring hour one of the show. Don't forget, they got all sorts of great stuff going on. You can visit them online, heartlandofnebraskawindows.com, or give them a call for more info, 402-430-3852. The Detroit Tigers, right before spring training starts, announced they've signed Justin Verlander, a guy who obviously made a name for himself pitching for Detroit from when he debuted at 22 in 2005 all the way through 2017 when he was traded to Houston. And now entering his age 43 season, Nick, he makes a return to the city he began his career in. I really think there are, three options here. Number one, retirement tour move. Okay, bring him back home. He's still got enough gas in the tank to warrant a roster spot. Number two, it's a baseball move. The Tigers don't trust their rotation. Or number three, it's a PR move. Given the way last season ended and everything that's gone on with Tarek Skubal since then, I don't know, man. I don't buy the rationale for this one. I don't think this is a baseball move. I think this is a PR move.
There's not much room in the rotation to begin with to say, hey, sorry, we're going to turn to a 43-year-old guy who pitched here and made a name for himself here.
To that point, last year's rotation of Skubal, Flaherty, Mize, Montero, and Olson is all still on the roster. You also still have a top pitching prospect, Jackson Jobe, who contributed about a half a win above replacement on the roster from last year. So really the only guy you're trying to replace there is Charlie Morton, who was really bad and a couple years younger than Justin Verlander. So you're going to force him into the rotation?
I think he'd have to be like a bullpen guy, which is kind of weird. It'd be very weird to see him kind of in
middle relief.
In middle relief in a Detroit Tigers uniform, as growing up seeing him play for the Tigers. Obviously he had that's where he made a name for himself, was a Cy Young winner, was able to kind of prove himself. And he kind of already did this. He was with the Mets and then got traded to Houston or the Astros, where he was at before and had success there. And that was kind of what it was. And now he's going to Detroit. Like you said, maybe it's a way to sell a couple more tickets. I mean, you see, and that could be like your point 1 and 3 could be linked, PR move / retirement tour. You see, let's say end of the year, his final start comes, that on like a Saturday before the season ends, game 161.
Or they throw him out in that start. He hadn't made a start all year, just a spot start sort of guy. Here's a bone. Here's one.
We're already locked in the playoffs or out of the playoffs or whatever.
Out.
Exactly. You never know. Hey, we got Justin Verlander a day, and he's going to come out and make his final career start or whatever, and you put him out there, and regardless of what happens, if you're locked in the playoffs or out of the playoffs or whatever, you can plug him in there and sell a couple more tickets and see the Justin Verlander send off in real time.
Verlander, a 385 fielding, independent pitching, a 103 ERA plus last year. Both improvements from a 478 FIP and a 74 ERA plus, which would be 26% below league average. Probably not much left in the tank. Feels like one last go round for soon to be 43-year-old Justin Verlander. For Nick Wyman, I'm Austin Norman. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us here on Old School, brought to you as always by the good folks at Graham Tire Company. They're celebrating 75 years of serving the Midwest. More than just tires, they do all kinds of car and light truck repairs too. From brakes to oil changes, trust Graham Tire for service you can count on. It's Graham Tire, getting you to the places that matter most. More next on The Ticket.